Looks like. Where is Simi Mataji? Where is Kamala Mataji?
He Radhe Vraj Devi ke chalalite. He Nanda
Where is Simi Mataji? Where is Kamala Mataji? Sukamala Radhe.
Okay, something is wrong. I can't see it. I still can't see myself, so I'll give up. I don't know. Some glitches.
We have light again. I can see.
Yeah, we'll just go in with good faith. Yeah. I'll just let Selma to your team now. Just hold on for 1 second. It's so I need to type those now, right? Okay. I've just asked them this question there. They can see on Facebook. Otherwise, what I'll do is that for everybody, I will, this says it's being live streamed. For some reason I can't see it, but that's fine. I will also record it, right? So that if it didn't broadcast, then we'll at least be able to load it later.
Progress.
Okay, thank you so much, Mataji, for joining us here. Simi Mataji, Sukumarate, Vindhyavali, and Vashana.
Meera Mataji is not going to.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Jai Srila
Meera,
Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Okay,
Krishna Mataji.
so we lost 6 precious minutes, so we'll get started here without much ado. Starting with these prayers to the spiritual master. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Vina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Okay, welcome again to our class on Bhagavad-gita. And we are going to do chapter number 4. And who's going to tell me the verse for today?
33.
Verse number 33. Very nice. And
Yes,
okay. All right. So let's see. I'm going to close this also. I'm just closing some of my opening things so that they are not disturbing to all of us. What a start today. Close this guy also. You don't want to read all this. Okay, this is my to-do list for today. Let me close this. So verse number 33 is just before a very famous verse. Does anybody know?
Yes.
And which one is that?
Tatvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshyanti te jnanam jnaninas tatvadarshinaha.
Very nice. Yes, very, very famous. 4.3.4.
4.34.
4.3.4. Okay, so now let's go. Before we go over to that verse in the future, let's look at the verse that we have today. 4.33 is also a very interesting verse. And as we bring it up here, it's kind of like the culmination of all these conversations that Krishna is having with Arjuna. He's been talking to him about sacrifices, right? And we talked about the different kinds of sacrifices that we can have. And so here he's now telling you, okay, I told you about this and that and that and that and this. So what do we do then, right? So let's bring it up. I'm trying to bring it up. All right, 4.34, 4.33. Shreyan dravyamayat yagyaj jnana yagyaha parantapa sarvam karma khilam partha jnane samapyate. Shreyan dravyamayad yagyaj jnana yajna parantapa sarvam karma khilam partha jnane pari samapyate. Shreyan dravyamayad yagyaj jnana yajna parantapa sarvam karma khilam partha jnane pari samapyate. Shreyan is greater. Dravyamayat, of material possessions. Dravya is material. Yagyat, then the sacrifice. So there is some comparison going on between this and that. So Shreyan. Yagyat, then the sacrifice. Jnana yajna. Jnana yajna is sacrifice in knowledge. Parantapa, O chastiser of the enemy. Excuse me. Sarvam, all. Karma, activities. Akhilam, in totality. Pṛthā, O son of Pṛthā. Jnane, in knowledge. Parisamapyate, end. O chastiser of enemy, the sacrifice performed in knowledge is better than the mere sacrifice of material possessions. After all, O son of Pṛthā, all sacrifices of work culminate in transcendental knowledge. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The purpose of all sacrifices is to arrive at the status of complete knowledge, then to gain release from the material miseries, and ultimately to engage in loving transcendental service to the Lord, Supreme Lord Krishna consciousness. Nonetheless, there is a mystery about all these different activities of sacrifice, and one should know this mystery. Sacrifices sometimes take different forms according to the particular path of the performer. When one's faith reaches the stage of transcendental knowledge, the performer of sacrifices should be considered more advanced than those who simply sacrifice material possessions without such knowledge. For without attainment of knowledge, sacrifice remains on the material platform and bestow no spiritual benefit. Real knowledge culminates in Krishna consciousness, the highest stage of transcendental knowledge. Without the elevation of knowledge, sacrifices are simply material activities. When, however, they are elevated to the level of transcendental knowledge, all such activities enter into the spiritual platform. Depending on differences in consciousness, sacrificial activities are sometimes called karma-kanda, fruitive activities, and sometimes jnana-kanda, knowledge in the pursuit of truth. It is better when the end is knowledge. Right? So here in this particular verse, Krishna is comparing. He says, sacrifices performed in knowledge is better than the mere sacrifice of material possessions. After all, Pṛthā, O son of Pṛthā, all sacrifices of work culminate in the transcendental knowledge. And so if we go back to chapter number 4, where we were talking about the various types of sacrifices, Krishna had started talking about them. So we started with verse number 25. Some yogis perfectly worship the demigods by offering different sacrifices to them, and some offer sacrifices in the fire of Supreme Brahman. Some, the unadulterated brahmacharis, sacrifice the hearing process and the senses in the fire of mental control, and others, the regulated householders, sacrifice the objects of the senses in the fire of the senses. Others who are interested in achieving self-realization through control of the mind and senses offer the functions of all senses and of the life breath and as oblations into the fire of the controlled mind. Having accepted strict vows, some become enlightened by sacrificing their possession. So this is the Dravyamaya Yajna we are talking about today. And others by performing severe austerities, by practicing the yoga of eightfold mysticism, or by studying the Vedas to advance in transcendental knowledge. Swadhyaya, right? Still others who are inclined to the process of breath restraint to remain in trance practice by offering the movement of the outgoing breath into the incoming and the incoming breath into the outgoing, and thus at last remain in trance, stopping all breathing. Others, curtailing the eating process, offer the outgoing breath into itself as a sacrifice. All these performers who know the meaning of sacrifice become cleansed of sinful reactions, and having tasted the nectar of the results of sacrifice, they advance towards the supreme eternal atmosphere. O best of the Kuru dynasty, without sacrifice one cannot live happily on this planet or in this life. What then of the next? of all these different types of sacrifice are approved by the Vedas, and all of them are born of different types of work. Knowing them as such, you will become liberated. O chastiser of the enemy, the sacrifice performed in knowledge is better than the mere sacrifice of material possessions. After all, O son of Pṛthā, all sacrifices of work culminate in the transcendental knowledge, which is the verse for today. Okay, so I'll stop here and I will take some reflections on what you have heard so far on this in this verse and in the previous verses that we have done. Anything you heard, anything that reminded you of something? Your thoughts about sacrifice?
Like last week when we talked about sacrifice, then ultimately leading to liberation, right? So then we talked about the different kinds of liberation.
Right.
4 or 5 kinds of mukti.
Yeah, 5 kinds of liberations. Yeah, very nice. Very nice. Yeah. So let me bring up one verse, which is a very popular verse. And so what this particular verse is saying that there are sacrifices done. There are some sacrifices which are purely on the material plane, right? They're karmakandi activities. And then, of course, then if you have a little bit of a knowledge as to why you're doing, then that is slightly better. That's what today's verse is basically saying, right? So in the Vedas, there are karmakandi activities. So these sacrifices are written in the Vedas, right? So there must be some reason to it. So in today's purport, Srila Prabhupada has pointed out, and he has said that it could be that you are doing some material activities, karmakandi activities, but he is also saying that because they are of a material nature, they will stay on the material platform. The results will also stay on a material platform, right? So as such, you will not gain any spiritual benefit out of doing this little exercise, right? Mm-hmm. However, there is still a progression, and Prabhupada says that elsewhere, right? That there will still be some sort of a progression here. And the reason for that is that first you have to get out of this material entanglement. We are here in this material world basically for the purposes of fulfilling our desires, where we wanted to enjoy separately for Krishna. So until and unless that propensity is satisfied and we are fulfilled, like, okay, now don't want anymore, no mas for that, right? So what the Vedas are saying that, okay, if you want to enjoy material life, you want to enjoy material things, do it. But what you should do it in a regulated manner that according to the sastric injunctions, I'm supposed to eat. How much am I supposed to eat? I'm supposed to enjoy grihastha life. How much should I enjoy? Right? Should I enjoyments be like the animals? Right? What do animals do when they want to enjoy? Animals don't follow any injunctions. Right? Whatever their desires are, whatever they want to do, they will fulfill it without thinking about the time and the place and the circumstances. Right? And but since you've got a human form of life, we tend to do things in a little sophisticated manner. And rather than being dogs and hogs who will do anything and everything in public, we kind of, put a little demarcation, but we are still like dogs and hogs in private life. Right? And so it's essentially not much difference between the two types of animals that we are. But we are human beings and we are capable of doing something higher. We're capable of doing, and there are needs that people have, and they are in some sort of a hierarchy. There is a very famous article by Maslow in psychology where he talks about there's a Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So it's kind of like a pyramid that they show. And right at the bottom level of the pyramid, like the lowest needs that you have are the physiological needs. You need air, you need water, you need food, you need shelter, you have to sleep, you need clothing to cover yourself, right? You need to reproduce like that. So those are the lowest level of needs that we have, right? And by the way, air, water, food, shelter, sleep, recreation, and of course, clothing is there for human beings also is what he lists. But if you remove the clothing, all the other needs are there, needs of the animal. Same as animals, you see? So they're same as the animals. Of course, we are a little bit sophisticated animals, so we cover ourselves with our body, with clothes. And of course, nowadays we are shedding the clothes also, as you can see with the latest fashion trends which are out there, right? Where the pants are going lower and lower and lower. Right? Something to observe. Undergarments have become garments, right? For ladies. So
it has holes.
what it
All
is.
pants has holes.
Yeah, things have got holes and things like that, right? So, so those are physiological needs, and there is air is a physiological need, and that is why sometimes when you are trying to focus on something, they will teach you not to breathe. They'll say, don't breathe. And why is the reason they are saying that don't breathe in order to focus your attention? Because breathing is a basic need that we have. Air is a basic need. And if you're cutting off that basic need, then it's very difficult to stay on a higher platform, which is where you start thinking about things, right? So if your mind is going here and there, everywhere over the world, and you say, stop breathing, then the mind, gets agitated. It's like, oh, my basic need is gone. I needed air. Where is air? Where is air? Where is air? So at least 100 or thousands of other thoughts and thousands of other directions in which the mind was running, it runs out of gas and it won't be able to run, because the gas is the pranamayu that you give, right? The mind thrives on air. We read about that a little bit, right? So then after your needs have been fulfilled, that, you wanted to have air, food, water, shelter, water, etc. Then he says you have the safety needs. Do I have a roof on the top of my floor? Do we have that, right? Do I have a job? Do I have a bank balance? And things like that, okay? So a person can have a nice job, can have a nice bank balance. He gets air, water, food, electricity. He's getting all that. So the lower two needs in the Maslow's hierarchy are fulfilled for that person. And then after all that is done, then there's a need for love and there's a need for belonging. Okay? Then you want friends, a family, connection. I'm Indian. I'm a Japanese. I belong to this country. So there's a belonging. I favor the giants, like the big games, right? Right. I'm on this side, I'm on that side. So that belonging is there, right? So you could also be there. You could have also friends, etc. And then after that comes the need of, so people could be loved. Everything could be nice going on there, a nice husband loves you, children, they love you and all that kind of stuff. But then after that comes, respect. A person now wants respect. He wants self-esteem. He wants, freedom. Freedom from, I want to do my own thing. And then the last and the topmost stage that Maslow says, he uses the word self-actualization. And self-actualization basically is that you become the most that you can become, right? So self-actualization is not like a point that you will reach. That, if you do this, then you are self-actualized. Self-actualized is an individual thing. And the most that I can do, like sometimes the best a person can do, he can become the best cook. Somebody can become the best singer. The best singer might not be the best cook, right? Similarly, the best cook might not be the best singer. So on and so forth. Some people might be very thriving in the industries. Some like to do scientific analysis. Some are into music. Some are in games and all that kind of stuff. So according to your own capacity. So when you're able to fulfill your full potential on what you really, can be, the most, I want to become the most. Like a lot of times we hear, after I got married, I'm not able to pursue. I used to play the sitar. I'm not able to do this, right? So that fulfillment is not there, right? So he has laid it like that self-actualization is like, what's the maximum that you can do? But when you look at it from the Shastic perspective, the question to be asked is that, so what is it that a soul can do maximum? And what is it that the soul should be doing at its maximum? Physiologically,
trying to find Krishna Prem so that
Krishna
we
Prem.
can reach the ultimate.
Exactly. Prema Pumarto Mahan, that is at the highest level. That is the highest level. And that is what we should be. So that is the self-actualization. That is your extreme capability that you can do. It doesn't matter whether you are a technocrat, you're an aristocrat, you're a musician, you're a cook or whatever. In any stages that you can have the self-actualization, you can be the best there if you connect it with Krishna. right? And you do it for Krishna, and you become the servant of Krishna. That is the real self-actualization there, right? Up until then, you'll have needs, and the Vedas are telling you the proper ways of fulfilling all these needs, right? So jnanamaya, yajnamaya, tapamaya, like that. Go ahead, Varshana Mataji.
Yeah, Mataji, yesterday there was in the village, Mataji, the people, you see, they said they were distributing Bhagavad-gita, and people said that how to find out the, you see, in Paramparagit Guru, we do not know, you see, bona fide spiritual master, how to find that. You see, they have been cheated by so many people that they come, and poor thing, these people do not know, and they now, you see, with the help of distributing Bhagavad Gita and giving them the knowledge that who is the spiritual master, they are getting aware, Mataji. But otherwise, those who are not aware, they are getting cheated like this. So poor thing, they cannot reach the self-realization unless, you see, they have the proper knowledge from the right person.
Very true. And then our next work will talk about that. Tad vidhi paripatena, pariprashnena siddhya updeshanti cheyana jnanina tattvadarshinaha. Yeah. So it will be like that. Yeah. So we have to understand that there are needs, and what our shastras are telling us, that there is a proper way in which you can fulfill those needs. Right? Just don't do it like the animals. So let me bring up a few verses actually that we have, very nice, where we are saying that, okay, so there is a hierarchy. Finally, you fulfill your need, you do this and you do that. There are different kinds of sacrifices, and Krishna has said that better than when you're sacrificing, you do sacrifice in some knowledge. But what is the knowledge that I should get? What is the knowledge that I should get so that my sacrifices are the best, and I know what is the best sacrifice to do? Right? So that is, how do we do that? And what is the best sacrifice? So we have done this verse earlier, but I'm still going to bring it up here just as a recap for all of us. And which is, Brahma arpanam Brahma haver, Brahma gnau Brahmanahutam, Brahma eva tena gantavya, Brahma karma samhadinaha. This thing, a person who's fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness is sure to attain the spiritual kingdom because of his full contribution to spiritual activities, in which the consummation is absolute and that which is offered is of the same spiritual nature. Right? So when you are engaging in devotional service of the Lord, right? When you are engaging in the devotional service of the Lord, then whatever that you are doing becomes transcendental in nature. And so that is the highest goal that we have to reach. Okay. So there are, again, this is from a Bhagavad-gita. There are a few verses, actually a slew of verses from the Srimad Bhagavatam, of course, that, and they are from the first canto, second chapter, Divinity and Divine Service, which is the most wonderful chapter there that we can go through. You can keep on going back to those chapters again and again, over and over again, and dig into it and get, get the most out of it. So let's get that verse. Very, very nice. And it starts with describing the various modes that are there. 1 to 24 is what I'm going to bring up here. Parthiva taruno dhumas tasmadagnistrayi mayaha tamastastu rajastasmat sattvam yat brahma darshinam. So Parthivad means from the earth. Darunaha means firewood. Right? So we hear Daru means wood. Right? So Daru is wood. So firewood, Darunaha. So firewood is the wood, right, that is used for burning the fires, Daru. You also hear the word Daru Brahma, right? So when they use Daru Brahma, who are they referencing? Daru Brahma. Daru means?
Wood.
And Brahman means?
Effulgence.
One meaning of Brahman is effulgence.
Oh.
Daru Brahman. You are on mute. Varshana Mataji. You are on mute.
Yes, Mataji. Jagannath Puri, Mataji.
Yes, Daru Brahma is Jagannath Puri because he's a lord made out of wood. Right? And when I went there to Jagannath Puri for the very first time, 9 years ago, almost 9-10 years ago, when I went there, we found a panda, and so it's the Lord also leaves that body. So there's a big nice ritual. Once every 12 years, the body changes. And so, what is the tree from where you get the wood? You are going to carve the Lord out of it, right? So there are very nice stories. Logs will sometimes wash ashore, and he was also saying Neem ka ped chandan ki sugandh. So he says the priest of the temple, Krishna will come in his dreams and point him to a tree, and it'll be a neem tree, but you go there and you smell it, it'll be chandan, smells like chandan. So it's a very nice story there about Daru Brahman, right? But coming back to our point that we are trying to make over here, so it says Parthivat Daruno Dhumas. So Parthivat from earth, firewood. Dhuma means smoke. Tasmat from that. Agnihi, fire. Trayi is Vedic sacrifices. And Maya, made of. Tamasaha, in the mode of ignorance. Tu, but. Rajaha, the mode of passion. Tasmat, from that. Sattvam, the mode of goodness. Yat, which. Brahma, the absolute truth. So Daru Brahma, the absolute truth. And Darshana means realization. The translation here, very nice. Firewood is a transformation of earth, right? So from where does fire come? Firewood come from where the lakdi wood come? Wood comes from the earth, right? You have to put the seed inside it, from there put water, and then it grows, and then you get the firewood. But he's saying that smoke is better than raw wood. Because why? Because firewood is just a piece of wood. It's not doing anything at all. It is inactive, right? So that is firewood at the lowest level. And then this was a Parthiva Daruno Dhumaha. So he said Dhuma, smoke is better from firewood. So why is it better than firewood? Because there is a little bit of activity there. At least some smoke is coming out. Of course, now smoke is going to make you cough. That's a different thing. But some activity is going on, right? So, but fire is still better, right? Now, once after the smoke, the wood starts burning, then that is the best thing. That on the top, he's saying that that's still better. For by fire, we can derive the benefits of superior knowledge through Vedic sacrifice. Without fire, right? Without sacrifices, and then you see that this fire, right now he's talking about sacrifice in the traditional way in which we understand sacrifice, right? There is a havan korn, there is wood put in there, there's fire, and like that, right? But again, we also have fire of control mind and things like that, right? So he's saying that fire is the best thing to have because of fire, you can derive the benefits of superior knowledge by using Vedic sacrifices. And in chapter 4, we just now listed all these different kinds of sacrifices. Krishna has listed ways in which you can do sacrifices. So he's saying just as there are gradations, that right at the bottom, there is firewood, and on top of the firewood, there is smoke, and on top of the smoke, there is fire. There's that gradation there. Similarly, he's saying that passion is better than ignorance, which is tamas. So right at the bottom, there is tamas or ignorance. Above ignorance, there is passion, which is rajas. But goodness, he's saying sattva, is the best. Because by goodness, one can come to realize the absolute truth. Okay? So you have to raise your consciousness to that highest level. Okay. So at the bottom, there is tamas. On top of that, there's Rama. So tamas is no action. Firewood. Nothing. It's lying there, doing nothing, right? Passion. Mode of passion. This and that. Huffing, puffing, coughing. Smoke. Right? So I think a little better than that is smoke because there's activity going on. Maybe not the best activity, but there is some activity. And then above that is the fire. And the fire is going, Parthivat Daruno Dhumas Tasmat Agni Trayimaya Tamastastu Rajas Tasmat Sattvam Yad Brahma Darshanam. And why is that Sattvam is the highest over there on the top? Because from where you have to elevate yourself to that level to be able to achieve the Lord and see the Lord. So you have to go through that particular graduation. And then then Prabhupada actually explains very nice thing in the purport over here. And that is, as explained above, one can get released from the conditioned life of material existence by devotional service to the personality of Godhead. It is further comprehended herein that one has to rise to the platform of the mode of goodness, sattva, so that one can be eligible for the devotional service of the Lord. So on what platform do you have to be to become eligible?
Sattva.
Sattva, right? Mode of goodness. But, now here comes a nice thing. But if there are impediments on the progressive path, right? Progressive path is that you are in the mode of tamas, then you raise yourself to the mode of, goodness, passion, rajas, and then rajas, you go to sattva. So this is a progressive path. But you say if there are impediments on the progressive path, anyone, even from the platform of tamas, can gradually rise to the sattva platform by the expert direction of the spiritual master, right? And that was the observation you made, right? In the beginning of the class, that you need a spiritual master to help you. Sincere candidates must therefore approach an expert spiritual master for such a progressive march. And the bona fide expert spiritual master, which the people in the village where Varshana Mataji went did not have, a bona fide expert spiritual master, is competent to direct a disciple from any stage of life, tamas, rajas, or sattva. So a good spiritual master doesn't say that, you have to just stay here. I will only take, like when you go to universities, right? I want to enter into a postgraduate college. They will tell you that, hey, did you do undergraduation? Or to enter into college, did you do high school nowadays, especially, right? So the spiritual master also says, okay, are you in the mode of goodness? If not in the mode of goodness, I'm not taking you on. I can't take care of you, right? It's not like that. A bona fide spiritual master will take you from any level that you have, right? And it's a very interesting thing. And we always hear about spiritual masters. Of course, our own spiritual masters are there. And then we also hear about Srila Prabhupada. And he was such a, so renowned for having transformed so many people from the mode of tamas, right? And he got there. So the spiritual master is there. You have to render service to the spiritual master, but he will take you from whatever mode that you have. You should have faith in the spiritual master. And the spiritual master will also be very direct. I mean, whatever he has to say, he will say it. He's not there to please you. When Srila Prabhupada came here to USA, it was the hippie cult, though, that those were the ages, those were the stage that America was going through. And people told Srila Prabhupada that, Srila Prabhupada, you have these 4 regulative principles, right? 4 regulative principles: no alcohol, no gambling, no meat eating, and no illicit sex. So he said, Prabhupada, you know what? I think you should remove the illicit sex from your 4 regulative principles, because, in America, it is not possible. The way you are seeing hippies and all that, what will you do? Just remove that. Otherwise, it's very difficult for us. And so so we are telling you to do this. And Prabhupada said, I have come here to teach you. You're not supposed to teach me. So a spiritual master will also be very, very direct in telling you about that. But we do need a spiritual master. And I just would like to pause over here and welcome the new people who joined us here, including Niral Prabhu and Khyati Mataji, I think, and Keshvi is also there. And Nikunja Sundari Mataji is joining us from Sacramento here. You see her name there. And then, of course, Aruni Mataji coming back from the heights that she went to. So very nice. Thank you so much for joining the call here today. So I'll continue on with the verse that we are looking at, that the importance of having a spiritual master is highlighted there, right? So expert spiritual master is competent to direct a disciple from any stage of life, tamas, rajas, or sattva. It is a mistake, therefore, to consider that worship of any quality or any form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is equally beneficial. And we see that a lot in India, especially in India, where people have by birth exposure to so many varieties of gods and demigods, right? Bhagwan and Devta. like that. So they cease to make a distinction between them, and they say everything is okay. They actually take pride in the fact that, hey, you Vaishnavas, you are very narrow-minded. You're saying that I'm going to worship only Krishna. I have a much broader outlook. I worship anybody. But here Prabhupada is emphasizing that it's a mistake, therefore, to consider that worship of any quality or any form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is equally beneficial. Except Vishnu, all separated forms are manifested under the conditions of material energy. Very important, the next statement. And therefore, the forms of material energy cannot help anyone to rise to the platform of sattva, which alone can liberate a person from material bondage. And it's very, very important here that if your spiritual master himself is always in the mode of passion, how can the spiritual master teach you to get out of the mode of passion? Right? Because if you don't understand, he'll get passionate and give you a dengue on the head, right? So it's very, very important that, for us to say that, okay, any of the demigods can get us out of this of this material and take us into the transcendental. That's not a possibility. That's not possible at all, right? So we have to be careful of where we are putting our faith and where we are doing our worship there, right? So, and Prabhupada gives a very nice example where he says that, if you yourself are shackled, right? Somebody has put chains around your hands and feet, and somebody says, I'm going to come and rescue you. Well, his hands and feet should not be tied, right? His hands and feet should be free. And so basically, when we are talking about shackles, here we are talking about the shackles of material bondage. Shackle of material, right? This is all the bondage that comes here in this material world is because of the material body, right? And from the material body, we get attached to the place of birth, to the country, to various groups, and to our children, and so on, and possessions, so on and so forth, material possessions, so on and so forth, right? So those are all those are shackles that bind us. So in here, Prabhupada is saying that the uncivilized state of life, or the life of the lower animals, is controlled by the mode of tamas. And I said, ignorant, completely, don't know. I want it, I will do it now. The civilized life of man with a passion for various types of material benefits is the stage of rajas. The rajas stage of life gives a slight clue to the realization of the absolute truth in the form of fine sentiments in philosophy, art, and culture with moral and ethical principles, right? Prabhupada puts it out so beautifully. This is such a nice way of making a very strong statement. So what he's saying is that, you might be perfect in philosophy, you might be coming up with a fantastic art, Monica, or who is that, Mona Lisa, and I'm a connoisseur of art, I know things, good things, and I, believe in morals and ethical principles, and we might just think that, this is the ultimate, right, of self-actualization that we talked about earlier in the class today, right? So, but he's saying, well, you know what? All this is just going to give you a slight clue, because absolute truth is even beyond sattva. So beyond sattva, there is vishuddha sattva. And you have to reach that vishuddha sattva stage to be able to realize the absolute truth here, right? But the sattva stage is good because it will help you reach to the higher rung in your realization. Okay? So the rajas state of life, repeating it again, the rajas state of life gives a slight clue of the realization of the absolute truth in the forms of fine sentiments in philosophy, art, and culture with moral and ethical principles. But the mode of sattva is a still higher stage of material quality, which actually helps one in realizing the absolute truth. In other words, there is a qualitative difference between the different kinds of worshipping methods, as well as the respective results derived from the predominating deities, namely Brahma, Vishnu, and Har, right? So Brahma is the mode of passion, controls the mode of passion, Vishnu controls the mode of goodness, and Har or Shiva, he controls the mode of ignorance, right? So when you have got different kinds of worshipping methods, there will be different qualitative differences between the two of them, right? Then continuing on to this verse, after having talked about, Parthiva Daruno Dhumas Tasmat Agni Traimya, we come now to next verse, very beautiful verse. Bhejire Munio Thagre Bhagvantam Adhokshadam Sattvam Vishuddham Shemaya Kalpante Yenutaneha. So what does this particular verse mean? This says previously, like all the great sages rendered service unto the personality of Godhead. Why? Due to his existence above the three modes of material nature, because he's the guy whose hands and feet are not shackled by material bondage as ours are. They worshipped him to become free from material conditions and thus derive the ultimate benefit. Whoever follows such great authorities is also eligible for liberation from this material world. And last week we talked about different types of liberations, right? And so how do we get eligible for getting out of this? Go worship, right? Worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in the purport, Prabhupada says that the purpose of performing religion is neither to profit by material gain, nor to get the simple knowledge of discerning matter from spirit. That's not the ultimate purpose. The ultimate aim of religious performances, the sacrifices included, is to release oneself from the material bondage and regain the life of freedom in the transcendental world, where the personality of Godhead is the supreme person. Laws of religion, therefore, are directly enacted by the personality of Godhead, Bhagwan tu Sakshat, right? Dharmam tu Sakshat Bhagavad Pranitam. And except for the Mahajans or the authorized agents of the Lord, no one knows the purpose of religion. There are 12 particular agents of the Lord who know the purpose of religion, and all of them render transcendental service unto him. Persons who desire their own good may follow these Mahajans and thus attain the supreme benefit. Mahajana yena gatasa panthaha. Follow in the footsteps of these Mahajans. Can you give me the name of one Mahajan?
Bhishma-dev.
Bhishma-dev. Okay. Any other Mahajans?
The 4 Kumaras.
The 4 Kumaras. Good. Yeah. Nukanja is on a roll. Okay, right? So, go ahead.
Prahlada also, Mataji?
Not Prabhupada.
Prahlada.
Prahlada, yeah. Vaiyasikir, Sukhdev Goswami also. Yamaraj also. Right? So continuing on, with the purpose of, who we should be worshipping. So now in the next verse, it says, Sukhdev Goswami is telling the sages of Naimisaranya, Mumukshavo ghora rupan hitva bhuta patin atha narayana kalaha shanta bhajantihi anusuyavaha. Very, very important words over here. Mumukshavaha means persons desiring liberation. Ghora, horrible, ghastly. Rupan, forms like that. Hitva, rejecting. Bhuta patin, demigods. Atha, for this reason, Narayana, the personality of Godhead. Kalaha, plenary portions. Shantaha, all blissful. Bhajanti, do worship. He, certainly. Anasuyavaha, non-envious. So those who are serious about liberations are certainly non-envious. This is such a big quality immediately. And we see that quality repeated every now and then in the Bhagavad-gita. Where Krishna is telling Arjuna, I'm telling you this because you are anasuyavaha, because you're non-envious, that's why I'm telling you this. I'm telling you this, you are anasuyavaha, right? So those who are serious about liberation are certainly non-envious. So that's a goal for us to follow, and they respect all. Yet they reject the horrible and ghastly forms of the demigods and worship only the all blissful forms of Lord Vishnu and his plenary portions. Very, very important purport by Srila Prabhupada coming up here. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, who is the original person of the Vishnu categories, expands himself into 2 different categories, namely integrated plenary portions and separated parts and parcels. So what are the 2 categories into which Krishna expands himself?
The plenary and the separate.
The plenary and the separate. Where do you think we belong?
Plenary portion.
No, because the plenary are the Vishnu Tattvas.
So where are you?
We are the servitors. So
Separated, yeah. You're the separated parts and parcels of the Lord. And that is why if you take Lord as the fire then we are like a spark of the fire. And what happens to the spark of the fire? If it's separated from the fire, it has a tendency to be extinguished, right? So that is what happens to us, in the sense extinguishing doesn't mean that we really get extinguished, but the soul forgets about itself when it comes in touch with the material energy. Sometimes they're also called as tatatstha. I can never pronounce that word, which is on the tatatstha, right? Situated on the tat, which is on the margin. That's why we are sometimes also known as marginal energy. So there is material energy, there is the spiritual energy, and we are in the middle, because sometimes we are this and sometimes we are that, right? Prabhupada gives an example of how the bank of a river is difficult to define, because if the river overflows, where is the bank now? So sometimes it is this side, sometimes it's that side. So we are the separated parts and parcels. And the separated parts and parcels are the servitors. And the integrated plenary portions of Vishnu Tattvas are the worshipable objects of service, right? So Vishnu Tattvas, which are plenary means full, complete portions, right? So when Krishna, so these plenary portions, they exist. These plenary expansions of Krishna, they will exist in the spiritual world as they are, right? So there's Leela going on, all the Leela that Krishna performs, the way that Leela goes on in the spiritual world, like that, right? And then yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuthanam adharmasya tadatmanam sajamyaham. So he says, whenever there is a rise in irreligiosity and a decline in religiosity, at that time I will come. Abhyuthanam, he didn't say abhyuthanam adharmasya sajamyaham. So he says sajamya. He doesn't take birth. All that he does is as if he takes a parachute and he descends from the top and he comes here. So that descent is known as avatar, or an incarnation. So those forms are already existing in Golok or in the Vrindavan, in the Vaikuntha planets, and just those forms will descend and come here, do the job, and they will go back again, right? So how do they descend? When do they descend? Well, one of the reasons and one of the criteria Krishna has said is they descend because Pṛthā sadhunam vishāṣāya duskritam yada yada hi dharmasya. Adharma has increased, so that's why I come down, right? So there are scheduled incarnations of the Lord, and you can read about them in the third chapter of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, right? So they are scheduled, they will come on schedule in the beginning of the Yuga, at the end of the Yuga, in Satyuga, in Kali Yuga, in Dwapar. So there are a whole, schedule laid out for the Lord to appear. And he will also come Pṛthā sadhunam vinashaya chaduskam, to take care of his devotees. So, well, if somebody is giving and poking Prahlad Maharaj, then Krishna can burst out of a pillar in the form of Narsimha Dev, right? So he can come from any form and any place. It's that these forms already exist. It's just that they come there to a rescue, just as, when the devotee is dialing 911, right? And then the police appears. The police is already there, right? In that way, shape, and form, they're already there. It just comes to you and rescues you like that. So those are, the Vishnu Tattvas are there. So all demigods who are empowered. Now, this is a very important statement to open our eyes. All demigods which means devatas, who are empowered by the Supreme Lord, are also separated parts and parcels. Very, very important thing, right? They are not God. And that is why in the previous verses, Prabhupada was saying that there's a difference in whom you are worshipping. Not everything is the same. I can worship anybody, put a temple and I'll start worshipping. No. All demigods who are empowered by the Supreme Lord are also separated parts and parcels. They do not belong to the category of Vishnu Tattva. The Vishnu Tattvas are living beings equally as powerful as the original form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they display different categories of power in consideration of different times and circumstances. Also, very important thing is that if we are saying that Vishnu Tattva is a plenary portion, then the plenary portion means a complete part, right? And this is the famous verse from Ishopanishad. What is the verse, the invocation verse? Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnam
Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevasishyate.
Right? So this is what we are talking about here, that from the Lord, a plenary portion means Purnam Purnasya Adaya. From the Purnam, you subtract a Purnam, but the original also remains the same. And what was subtracted, what was taken out of the Supreme is also complete in itself. So these Vishnu Tattvas are also complete in themselves. So then the question will be that if Krishna was there and if he expanded, then what happened to the flute? Right? He expanded as Vishnu, what happened to the flute? It's a complete, what happened to the flute, right? So according to the time, place, and circumstances, they're all complete in themselves. You will not see the flute in Vishnu. Why will you not see the flute in Vishnu? Because Krishna comes in the form of Vishnu according to the mood of the devotee. And the mood of the devotee is of awe and reverence. So unless he has the chakra, gada, shanka, all that in his hand, the awe and reverence will not be there. The moment he comes with a flute, he's like, no, give me Vishnu. It's the mood. So according to the mood of the devotee, Krishna will accordingly manifest himself. But they are complete plenary portions of the Lord. So the demigods who are empowered by the Supreme Lord are also separated parts and parcels. They do not belong to the categories of Vishnu Tattva. The Vishnu Tattvas are living beings equally as powerful as the original form of the personality of Godhead, and they display different categories of power in consideration of different times and circumstances. The separated parts and parcels are powerful by limitation. They do not have unlimited power like the Vishnu Tattvas. Therefore, one should never classify the Vishnu Tattvas or the plenary portions of Narayan, the personality of Godhead, in the same categories with the parts and parcels. If anyone does so, he becomes at once an offender by the name Pashandi. In the age of Kali, many foolish persons commit such unlawful offenses and equalize the two categories. The separated parts and parcels have different positions in the estimation of material powers, and some of them are like Kala Bhairava, Smashan Bhairava, Shani, Mahakali, and Chandika. Now, very important. These demigods are worshipped mostly by those who are in the lowest categories of the mode of darkness or ignorance. Other demigods like Brahma, Shiva, Surya, Ganesh, and many similar deities are worshipped by men in the mode of passion, urged on by the desire for material enjoyment. But those who are actually situated in the mode of goodness, sattva guna, of material nature, worship. But those who are situated in the mode of goodness of the material nature, worship only Vishnu Tattva. Vishnu Tattvas are represented by various names and forms such as Narayan, Damodar, Vamana, Govinda, Adhokjaga, and so on. The qualified Brahma, this is very, very important, right? A couple of paragraphs. The qualified Brahmanas worship the Vishnu Tattvas represented by the Shaligram Shila, and some of the higher castes like Kshatriyas and Vaishyas also generally worship the Vishnu Tattvas. Highly qualified Brahmanas, very, very important statement. Highly qualified Brahmanas situated in the mode of goodness, right? Sattvam, have no grudges against the mode of worship of others. This is a very important quality of being a Brahman. You don't hold any grudges. So about what others are doing. Have no grudges against the mode of worship of others. They have all respect for other demigods, even though they may look ghastly like Kal Bhairava Mahakali. Right? They know very well that these horrible features of the Supreme Lord are all different servitors of the Lord under different conditions. So they know there's these demigods are actually also devotees of the Lord, and they are serving the Lord by doing these horrible and ghastly things to satisfy those who are in the mode of ignorance. So they know very well that these horrible features of the Supreme Lord are all different servitors of the Lord under different conditions. Yet they reject the worship of both horrible and attractive features of demigods, and they concentrate only on the forms of Vishnu because they are serious about liberation from the material conditions. And this kind of ties back to what we were talking in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad-gita, where Krishna is talking about the various kinds of yagyas, right? And he said that jnana yagya is better than dravya yagya. And the dravya yagya is mostly and majorly done for the demigods. And why? Because we want something in return from them, right? So, but if you are at a higher Brahminical stage, then you will not do that. You will only concentrate on the forms of Vishnu. The demigods, even up to the stage of Brahma, the supreme of all the demigods, cannot offer liberation to anyone. Hiranyakashipu underwent a severe type of penance to become eternal in life, but his worshipful deity Brahma could not satisfy him with such blessings. Therefore, Vishnu and none else is called Muktipad, or the personality of Godhead, who can bestow upon us mukti or liberation. The demigods, being like other living entities in the material world, are all liquidated at the time of annihilation of the material structure. They are themselves unable to get liberation, what to speak of giving liberation to other devotees. The demigods can award the worshipper some temporary benefit only and not the ultimate one. It is for this reason only that candidates for liberation deliberately reject the worship of the demigods, although they have no disrespect for any of them. This is very, very important, that we should not be disrespecting the demigods. They are there for a purpose. They are fulfilling their own duties. They have been instructed by the Lord to behave in a certain way. So although we are Vishnu Bhaktas, although we don't, encourage demigod worship, but we don't, we'd still respect them for who they are. So Rajatama Prakritya Samshila Bhajanti Vaya Pitri Bhuta Pajeshadin Sri Aishwarya Pajepshavaha. So those who are in the modes of passion and ignorance worship those in the same category, namely the forefathers, other living beings, and the demigods who are in charge of cosmic activities, for they are urged by a desire to be materially benefited with women, wealth, power, and progeny. So there is no need to worship demigods of whatsoever category if one is serious about going back to Godhead. In the Bhagavad-gita 4.33, it is clearly said that those who are mad after material enjoyment approach the different demigods for temporary benefits, which are meant for men with a poor fund of knowledge. We should never desire to increase the depth of material enjoyment. Material enjoyment should be accepted only up to the point of the bare necessities of life and not more or less than that. To accept more material enjoyment means to bind oneself more and more to the miseries of material existence. More wealth, more women, and false aristocracy are some of the demands of the materially disposed man because he has no information of the benefit derived from Vishnu worship. By Vishnu worship, one can derive benefit in this life as well as in life after death. Forgetting these principles, foolish people who are after more wealth, more wives, and more children worship various demigods. The aim of life is to end the miseries of life and not to increase them. For material enjoyment, there is no need to approach the demigods. The demigods are but servants of the Lord. As such, they are duty-bound to supply necessities of life in the form of water, light, air, etc. One should work hard and worship the Supreme Lord by the fruits of one's hard labor for existence, and that should be the motto of life. One should be careful to execute occupational service with faith in God in the proper way, and that will lead one gradually on the progressive march back to Godhead. Lord Krishna, when he was personally present at Vrajdham, stopped the worship of the demigod Indra and advised the residents of Raja to worship by their business and to have faith in God. Worshipping the multi-demigods for material gain is practically a perversity of the religion. This sort of religious activity has been condemned in the very beginning of the Bhagavatam as Kyatava Dharma, or cheating religion. There is only one religion in the world to be followed by one and all, and that is the Bhagavad Dharma, or the religion which teaches one to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead and no one else. Beautiful two verses I'm going to read here. Vasudeva para Veda, Vasudeva para Makhaha, Vasudeva para Yoga, Vasudeva para Kriyaha, Vasudeva param jnanam, Vasudeva param tapaha, Vasudeva paro dharmo, Vasudeva paragatihi. So in the revealed scriptures, the ultimate object of knowledge is Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. The purpose for performing sacrifice is to please him. Yoga is for realizing him. All fruitive activities are ultimately rewarded by him only. He is the supreme knowledge, and all severe austerities are performed to know him. Religion, dharma, is rendering loving service unto him. He is the supreme goal of life. Right? So I'll stop here and take reflections from you on what we heard so far.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare
I'll
Krishna.
ask a question, Mataji. Mataji, we are marginal energy, no?
Yes. Separated.
Okay. And Mataji, like we compared the smoke, the wood, the smoke, the fire. So I was just thinking that when we have no realization, nothing, absolutely zero, that time we are like a wood. And when just something like, you see, somebody is ringing the bell of the temple and it comes to my mind. I feel that was a smoke, a spark came to my ear. And you see, when the fire, then when I find the Guru,
Yes.
when it is extinguished, I mean, when it is totally, yeah.
Very good. Very good analogy. Yeah. Your fire will raise you to the level of fire. From being a wood, he will kindle the fire inside you through his instructions.
Kindle the fire.
Yeah. So his hymns and instructions. Yeah.
Yes, you use the right word. And after that, Mataji, where would I reach?
After that, well, you'll just follow the Guru. It's a very important, very interesting statement. You reach where the Guru reaches. So you have to be careful about the Guru that you choose. Because you'll reach where the Guru is going. Because you're following the Guru. Right? So you can follow somebody and enter in Oregon, in America. Spend your life there. Or you can follow your Guru. You can go to Vrindavan. Like that.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you.
And
Go ahead.
I think, Shraddha Mataji, that my question right in the beginning of the class, I think you answered it partly because you said that the Lord has scheduled times of appearance. And that was my,
that was your question. How do I know when this will come? Yeah. No. And so here's the interesting thing that because he comes in schedule, see, one of the things is there are these cycles of the yugas are there, right?
Yeah.
Right? After 100 years, after every 1,000 years, the cycle repeats, right?
Yeah.
And so it repeated. So we know it's going to repeat. And that is why, it is very clearly stated that the end of this Kali Yuga, Kalki Avatar is going to come in the house of Vishnu, some Vishnu Dutt or some name I'm forgetting, in the village such and such, some village or something like that, in the district of Bihar, in India. How can our Shastras predict that? Because, they were told once by the Lord and they have seen it and they have written it down. They have documented that for us. So that's why they're able to predict. And that's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was predicted in so many Shastras that he's going to come. Sango Parshad Darshanam. And Krishna Varnam Atrisha Krishnam. So if his Krishna, he will be talking about Krishna. The Krishna, he'll be teaching you about the names. But Tvacha Akrishnam. Krishna means black. Krishna means not black. But his Tvacha or his skin will not be black. It's clearly stated. Right? He's going to come. And he's going to come with his Sango Pangastra Parshadam. He'll come with his close people and then with his weapons, right? Like that, he's going to come.
But when he comes in these different forms like Narsimha Dev, and then, of course, Ram is an incarnation, but all the different...
All of them are incarnations.
Yeah, all of them are incarnations. But when we celebrate the appearance day of all these incarnations, that was the time thousands of years ago that they appeared
millions
in that particular incarnation, right?
Right. Right, and that is the richness of the Vedic and the Sanatana Dharma, that it's so ancient. This religion is so ancient, and actually, in Satyuga, Kali, in the Dwapar, all the way up to Dwapar, there's Vishnu. Majorly, there's Vishnu worship, Vishnu and demigod worship, like that. Variations of Sanatana Dharma. But all the other religions actually they come in Kali Yuga, the Abrahamic religions, and like that. They are how far are they, right? 2000 BC, AD, like that. Yeah. So, and why do we have these kind of religions here? Because, like Mathematics 601 and Mathematics 101. So there are people who want to read Mathematics 101. So for them in Kali Yuga, those kind of souls will take birth and they will still be going back to Godhead, but through this particular route. It might not be an easy route, but then, and that's why it is saying that, if you're mindlessly doing things, mindlessly taking form in sacrifices, even if you're doing a dravya yajna, right? You're sacrificing something, at least you have learned sacrifice. You have learned how to overcome the pinch of sacrificing. Somebody says, okay, now you donate $1 million. So that pinch is there always, right? Parting with Lakshmi. So that pinch, you overcome that pinch. So at least, there's something in your basket of goodies that you did something good, but it is the mercy of the Lord or the mercy of his devotee who will actually bring you into devotional service. So just by doing, dravya yagya, you're not going to attain liberation. On the contrary, you could get even more entwined in the mature nature by that.
Hey Krishna Mataji. Mataji, you mentioned in 1-26 about Pashandi. Can you elaborate it a little, Mataji? Who will be Pashandi if
the Pashandi is one who is equating everybody. Anything goes, anything goes is a Pashandi. There's no difference between God and demigods, Pashandi. There's no difference between God and you, Pashandi.
Like between the servitors and the Vishnu Tattva.
One who is not making a distinction between Vishnu Tattvas and the separated.
Servitor.
They say everything is same, Pashandi. Right? So there are people who say you are God. Like they say even the separated energy, we are God. Well, qualitatively, we are God. We have got all the qualities of God, anger, love, passion, all that, enjoyment, right? We've got all that. Quantitatively, we are not God.
Yeah.
We need to understand that, yeah.
Thank you.
Vaishnavi,
Little Vaishnavi.
where are you?
Keshvi has a question?
I'm sorry, Keshvi.
Keshvi has a question? How about?
Keshvi ran away. 1 second, let me get her.
He's growing big. Big girl. Big girl. Oh, it stopped. Freeze.
Nice.
I just had one more question, Shraddha.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, please. This is question and session. Yeah, time. Yeah.
So when it says that the Brahmanas were worshipping the Vishnu Tattvas through the Shaligram Shilas, what does that mean?
Oh, the Shaligram Shila are the...
I know what they are.
Yeah.
So, but that means they are the...
To be able to worship Shaligram Shilas, you have to be qualified. Not anybody and everybody can worship Shaligram Shilas. So Prabhupada is just giving an example that, Brahmanas worship through the Shaligram Shilas, Vishnu in the form of Shaligram Shilas. That's just an example. Nothing more to be read into that sentence there. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
See, when we worship Shaligram Shila, you have to be very, very particular about it. Puja and everything.
Yeah.
Not like other deities, we keep small deity things we can do, but not Shaligram.
Yeah.
That's what they say.
Why so, Mataji? I mean, like we serve the deity, what difference should be there?
Some deities demand some deities require a higher level of service. There are different bosses. Some bosses are easy to please. Some bosses are not easy to please, and so you have to be careful about how you're worshiping them. And that is why we make mistakes while we are doing deity worship.
Yeah. Their particular way of giving bath and everything.
You have to follow the procedures. So the thing about deity worship is that you have to follow the procedures. And if you don't, and there are offenses, there are at least 32 offenses that you can commit while you can read in Nectar of Devotion that you can commit while you're doing deity worship. So deity worship is not an easy thing and anybody can do. And we see, there's so much of glamour, Sunday feast lecture, somebody's up on the altar and they are doing the deity worship. They are being very careful. They are being very, very careful because although we see Krishna in the Shyam Sundar form there, but the worship of Krishna in a temple is done according to the Vishnu worship. Vishnu worship is very difficult and with awe and reverence. So we do it in awe and reverence. He's worshipped like a king in the temple, which means that a king has to be served breakfast at that time.
Yeah.
And taken away at that. All that curtain has to be drawn. Don't speak when the curtain is on, and all those kinds of things are there. Whereas with Krishna, when it comes to that level of the relationship with Krishna, some of the Krishna worship is very different. Like in one of the temples in Rajasthan, they will make a ball of food, mix the rice and dal, make a ball, and then they throw it to Krishna, or whatever laddu, they will throw it to Krishna and say, "Kha." Which a person of Vishnu worshipper will just faint at seeing kind of an irreverence, right? So some of the deity worship requires a lot of irreverence. And that is why we have Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who came, and I'm going to bring up a nice verse for you on this one. Sankirtan Pravartak Shri Krishna Chaitanya Sankirtana Yagyetane Bhaje Se Hi Dhanya. Lord Shri Chaitanya is the initiator of Sankirtan congregational chanting of the holy name of the Lord. One who worshipped him through Sankirtan is fortunate indeed. Seita Sumedha Ara Kubudhi Samsar Sarva Yagya Haite Krishna Nama Yagyasar. Such a person is truly intelligent, whereas others who are but a poor fund of knowledge must endure the cycle of repeated birth and death. Of all sacrificial performances, the chanting of the Lord's holy name is the most sublime.
But even the chanting also, Mataji, if we don't concentrate properly and chant, that won't be any value. I don't think so. Is that right, Mataji?
Yes, that is true. That is as an ultimate, that is true. However, they talk about the holy name of the Lord. Let me go to the next verse. Very nice. Koti Ashwamedha Eka Krishna Namarsam Yei Kahe Se Pashandi Dandetare. Yeah. One who says that 10 million Ashwamedha sacrifices are equal to the chanting of the holy name of Lord Krishna is undoubtedly an atheist. He is surely to be punished by Yamraj. What a strong statement. And, and what they're just saying is that sometimes people say you chant this name, you can do this one 10 million times, and that's equal to chanting one holy name of the Lord. He's saying, no, it's nowhere close to that. Chanting of the holy name of the Lord is much, much higher. And if you're making these kind of comparisons, then, you are an atheist. You don't believe in Krishna and believe in his power, right? And you'll be punished by Yamraj. So in the list of 10 kinds of offenses in chanting the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hare Krishna, the 8th offense is Dharma Vrata Tyaga Hutadi Sarva Shubha Kriya Samyam Api Pramadaha. One should never consider the chanting of the holy name of Godhead equal to pious activities like giving charity to Brahmanas or saintly persons, opening charitable educational institutions, distributing free food, and so on. The result of pious activity do not equal the results of chanting the holy name of Krishna. The Vedic scripture says, Go koti danam grahane khagasya prayaga gan godaka kalpavasaha yagya yutam meru suvarna danam govinda kirtet nasamam shatam shahe. Even if one distributes 10 million cows in charity during an eclipse of the sun, lives at the confluence of the Ganges and Yamuna for millions of years, or gives a mountain of gold in sacrifice to the Brahmanas, he does not earn 100th part of the merit derived from chanting Hare Krishna. In other words, one who accepts the chanting of Hare Krishna to be some kind of pious activity is completely misled. Of course, it is pious, but the real fact is that Krishna and his name being transcendental are far above all mundane pious activity. Pious activity is on the material platform, but chanting of the holy name of Krishna is completely on the spiritual platform. Therefore, although Pashandis do not understand this, pious activity can never compare to the chanting of the holy name. In fact, regarding the chanting of the holy name of the Lord, which we are saying is the easiest sacrifice that you can do, the chanting of the holy name of the Lord, the holy name itself is so powerful, supposed to be so powerful that, like as you were saying with Navali Mataji, that in the beginning you might not concentrate, you have to concentrate to be able to get the benefits, and that is true. But the holy name itself is so powerful that even if you're chanting it badly, it will have its effect. And ultimately, it will take some time. So it is good to concentrate or try to concentrate or practice to concentrate. But even if you're not doing it, the holy name of the Lord is so powerful that even if you pronounce it in anger, in jest, right, in trying to deride the holy name of the Lord, it will have its effect on you. And even if it is spoken in a musical sense, right? You are singing some song, you were a singer, not believing in the Lord, but you sang Madhuman me Radhika nache re, right? So it will have its own effect on you. Even if it is in pieces in a particular word, right? Like haram, the word ram is there. Rajma, it's completely broken in Rajma, right? You have to drop the ja to come to Rama, right? But even then, it'll have its power. And the holy name of the Lord is so potent, it's so powerful that it will dissolve your sins. Now, at what rate does it dissolve your sins? It will dissolve your sins at a rate higher than the rate at which you can commit sins. So you got the ultimate panacea, the ultimate medicine to our sinful activities is to get some medicine that will, override all the wrongdoings that we have. That is the power of the holy name. And that is the best sacrifice. And that's why they say, sumedasa, those who are chanting the holy names of the Lord are sumedasa.
Yeah.
Even Narayana name also, you say any other way, Nara, like that, Nara.
Yeah.
See, in Telugu, there is Nara and some other meaning is there. If you call Nara also, it gets Narayana name, it comes a sound. It is a lot of benefit is there. For
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Mataji, if you permit, I want to read the message of Nayan Sundari Mataji, who left her body recently, 4 days ago. And her last message to the people, to the devotees.
Okay,
So
good.
may I read Mataji? Okay.
Yeah, she was
Last
from Pune.
message. Pardon, Mataji?
Was she from Pune?
Mataji, she was at the moment in Michigan, but she was from Pune.
From Pune? Okay, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Nayan Sundari Mataji. Last message from Nayan Sundari Mataji in September 2022, which is very important for us to read and understand many times until it seeps into our hearts. Time bound or not, one will be able to focus only if one is fully convinced and has realized that she is not this body, and anything related to body doesn't trouble him much. He tries to see every situation, person, etc. from the perspective of a soul. Personally, I have been very close to death at least twice myself. The first time I was very weak in my spiritual practices and conviction. That time I wanted to divert my mind from thinking about the fact that this is it. I am dying. So I would watch cooking shows or other videos telling myself I would cook this for Krishna when I get well, or I can't do devotional activities 24/7 as I am not at that stage, etc., etc. All of these were lame excuses I was giving to myself to do my kind of self-gratification. The second time I did a little better. I tried to chant, read a bit, no videos this time, less distracted, and fewer lame excuses. Over time, I realized that the more I take devotional activities over and above the minimum committed during initiation vows, the better my consciousness is under such situation or towards such distractions. So yes, Srila Prabhupada has given us the foolproof method for the best way for living the world. We have to be sincere enough to do our part, not just minimum, but go a little beyond. The miracles will happen. Hare Krishna. Mataji. And Mataji, she had a glorious end. The whole world, I mean, whom she knew, people were praying for her, Mataji.
Let's
And
also
at
pray.
the end,
Let's also pray
yes,
for her. Yeah. Just chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra 3 times. Hare
yes,
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama, Rama
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare.
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare Hare.
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama, Hare
Hare Rama,
Rama, Rama Rama,
Hare
Hare
Hare. Go Premanande.
Hare
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji, for reading. Any other questions we have? Otherwise, I need to leave. Sumi Mataji, you have
That is the only question. You have to leave.
something? Nice. See, Mataji Nayantara Mataji had to leave. We all have to leave one day or the other. And we have to be prepared for that final leaving.
True,
Already are we, as His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj said, are you preparing for the final exam? That's the only exam that will matter. Yeah, actually I was talking to my Guru Maharaj this morning, and he said the same thing, right? In the end, the only thing that will remain is how much devotional service have you done. It doesn't matter how much you progress in life materially. That's what it is. And sthane sthita, you have to do whatever you have to do. And so sthane sthita, do whatever you can, whatever devotional service you can do in whatever situation that you are. And what situation am I going to choose to be in? This one or that one, right? Should I work for Google or Facebook? I'm just giving you examples, right? Then the choice is that, which will allow me to do more of my real dharma. So you go and situate yourself in that position from where you can do. Because ultimately, it doesn't matter whether you belong to Meta, whether you belong to work for Google or Oracle or Intel or NVIDIA, or you were a doctor in Stanford, doesn't matter. What matters really is that, So before I leave, I will ask Nidal Prabhu if we can have a
It's a good thing to take home.
Yeah.
This is the last good thing to take home.
Yeah.
What I'm
Best.
the best thing. She must have slept, I think.
No,
She's
she's just running around.
She will first put
hold her and show her.
She'll first put her parents to sleep, and then
he looks like him.
There she is.
He looks like him only.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Smile.
Keshvi.
I said,
Krishna, baby.
I said, Vaishnavi. Keshvi.
So Mataji, one thing, so you were mentioning about the last part, the live part, right? Today only, actually, I saw a WhatsApp video. Basically, so I think it's called small kid. He's reciting A for Arjuna, B for Balaram.
Yeah. It's
Yes,
gone viral.
I
That
also
video
saw.
is so good.
Yeah, and so the zero, right? In the end, zero, that's what you will go, I mean, that's what you have left at the end of language. That's what you go with, right? So I think that was relevant here. I mean, what you mentioned, what do you do? How are you preparing for your final exam?
Exactly. Yeah, everything is a zero. But if you put a 1 before it, then all the zeros, yeah. Yeah, very nice. Okay.
Thank you, Mataji, for the wonderful
Thank
session.
you.
I'm not able to
Thank you,
join.
Thank you so much, brother.
Yeah, how are all of you now feeling? You're feeling good? Okay.
Yes, Mataji. All good.
Good.
We always feel good after your class.
Making him run.
Yes, absolutely correct.
All right, that's because now this is my class. Anytime you feel good because it's talk about Krishna, like
Good
that.
No, Mataji,
Different
choosing
when
the
you talk
right,
about Krishna.
That is your love.
Mataji, you are choosing the right connections from Srimad Bhagavatam and enlightening us a little. You see, you are enlightening, but we are taking very little. That's what
Well,
I
from where is
feel.
the lightning striking me? It is coming from the parampara. So, it just comes from Lord. What words to pick, and everything is an inspiration. That is what inspiration actually means. It comes from the Lord. It doesn't come through our intellect. Yeah, it comes from Him. So I'm just blessed, and I just want you to spread this further to more people.
We are blessed to get that association.
Yes, Mataji.
I am blessed to get your associates. I look forward to Fridays, as well. To be in the association of devotees, to be able to spend an hour just talking about Krishna and
Things
not
to know. A lot of things to know, Mataji.
Yeah.
Never
But the beauty of that is that even if you don't know, and that knowledge comes as a concomitant factor. When you do devotional service, the knowledge comes by itself. So we have to just keep on focusing on doing the devotional service to the right place, to the right person, to Krishna, and it'll come by itself. And
this whole Kartik Mass, every Sunday, I was in the temple and making lamps and giving to everybody to do the arti.
Right, and all these verses that we have read in the Bhagavad-gita, basically they are all saying what Krishna is trying to say is that If others are saying like, oh, now I wish I was in Philadelphia. I wish I was making ghee with lamps. When Nevali is so lucky, she's able to do that. Oh, I'm a fallen soul. I'm not able to do it, right? Like that. So the key takeaways from today's verse is number one, no matter how fallen we are, a bona fide spiritual master can pick up from there, right? So that's one. Second thing where Krishna is telling Arjuna, when Arjuna starts in the beginning, Kim karmani ghore mam, why are you engaging me in this ghastly act? And in response to that third chapter, first question, Krishna is now explaining that, it's not ghore mam. Everything is a sacrifice. So the important thing is the verse from Brahma's prayers. He says, Thane sitha jnane prayasa uddapasya namanti eva. So one who gives up this pursuit of, I want to have knowledge, I want to have knowledge, I want to have knowledge. Because with knowledge, you can get pride also. I know this, I know that, I know more than a teacher, and this and that. But jnane prayasa uddapasya, give it up. Namanti eva, one who bows down to Krishna. Jivanti sarnamukharitam bhavadiya varta, and then he glorifies the name of the Lord.
See, I feel like
whatever situation that you are, you just try to glorify the Lord wherever you are. Right? For example, the one who used to come to do the sweeping in my home, back in India when I was small, the person used to come to sweep the courtyard and all that. And then she would be singing Ramchandraji's, songs. She's glorifying.
That's true.
She's glorifying. Sthane sthita. Where is your sthan? I'm the lowest in the hierarchy. I'm the sweeper, janitor, like that. But sthane sthita, you can do it from any place that you are, any place, any position, any style in life.
I get every day the pictures from the temple, Mataji, that darshan, all the deities darshan from ISV temple.
Yeah,
And every
daily
day I
darshan
write all the discrimination about the malas and everything. Every time I just enjoy that, and then I wait for that deities darshan. And I feel at those timings, I feel, oh God, I would have been in ISV, what is this? I didn't see Guru Maharaj after my initiation. I didn't meet him. I didn't go, and I see all of you, the Matajis, whoever did the deity, this thing, dressing, everything. So I see all that. I feel that, oh God, I would have gone there. But I don't know when Krishna permits me, Mataji.
And that is
you come every day by seeing it, Mataji. Every day you meet them.
Every day I'm seeing the deity.
Yeah.
Every day. Morning I see, every day I get the darshan of that deities.
Yeah.
But still, personally, I feel little bit I didn't go. But this Kartik Mas whole month, I did these lamps and I did the service. So I felt so happy. Krishna has given me this service.
And Mataji, Magshish month, since it is Krishna's month, it is said that is there any particular kind of prayer should be offered to the Lord?
Say that part again, sorry.
Mataji, this is Magshish month now. It is Krishna's month. So any particular kind of prayer should be offered to the Lord, or as usual we are doing it?
Yes, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Yajantihi sumedhasa. Those who are intelligent will just do that. Why? Knowing that I'm not capable. But every month, our endeavor should be, okay, this is this month, so I should do something more. This is this month, I should do something more. So we'll have small daily increments. And there's no hard and fast rule that, mark sheet that you should do that. Damodar Ashtakam, we do it in Kartik month. There's nobody stopping you from singing Damodar Ashtakam throughout the year. You're glorifying the Lord, right? You can do that. You can say, this is mark sheet. I'm going to just, read an extra chapter from Bhagavad-gita. I'm going to read an extra shloka, depending on how much your capacity is and the time permits and whatever you're doing, right? Small, they should be small. Your goals should be small, measurable, and achievable. Don't put a big thing like, oh, Mark Shisa, I should read the whole Bhagavad-gita. That's it. Then we'll be stressed out and you won't be able to do it. Small things, start small. And once you start small and sincere and you're regular in it, then automatically it'll increase. Right?
Yes.
Automatically it'll come.
Thank you, Mataji.
All right. I'll really take your leave now. Go Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. And actually, yeah, this was not, yeah, I'm going to stop the recording.